Hi, Roger. I'm pretty happy to have you for this podcast on Journal du Coin's channel. We'll go straight to the point. You are a successful entrepreneur. You're known as Bitcoin Jesus. You're one of the earliest investors in Bitcoin, and you founded a few successful companies and much more. Your journey is, let's say, definitely inspiring. And the thing is that you're often described by your competitors or people who have something against you. To the people who don't know you, could you tell us who you are, how you started as an entrepreneur, how you discovered Bitcoin, all these questions?
Yeah, I guess I've been a lifelong entrepreneur, but as an adult, it got started in Silicon Valley, selling computer components. I was born and raised in Silicon Valley and started a couple of different successful companies there. The most well-known one to maybe early Bitcoin people would be memorydealers.com, which was the first established business with annual sales in the multi-millions of dollars to start accepting Bitcoin in the entire world. Up to that point, maybe the biggest business was just a homemade guy that was selling socks made from alpaca wool that he was making himself. And I'm super, grateful to the alpaca guy for selling his socks for Bitcoin early on, but that wasn't, much of a mainstream business at that point. Whereas with my business, we put a billboard up on the side of the busiest expressway in Silicon Valley, and I started paying for radio ads on more than 100 radio stations across the U.S. And it got worldwide media attention to that because it was the first time an actual established business started accepting Bitcoin for payments. I was the first one in the world to do that for above board products that weren't illegal drugs on the dark net.
So I remember that the first time we had a chat, we've explored a lot of topics, including libertarianism and voluntarism. This interview is also available like on the top corner of this video for the people watching us. I would like you to tell us about the relationship between your belief as a voluntarist and cryptocurrencies.
Yeah, I think those were two things that were joined at the hip there. It was because I was already a libertarian and a free market advocate that I became interested in Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies, because I viewed them as a way to empower the individual to have more control over their own lives and to disempower the state from being able to control peaceful people. And in fact, just yesterday, I was with some French Canadians that spoke French as their first language, and we were talking about Frédéric Bastiat, who wrote The Law and Economic Harmonies and Economic Sophisms, and like just an amazing guy. And I only got to read his works after they had been translated from French into English, but I was recommending it to these native French speakers. I bet if you read Frédéric Bastiat in his native language, it's even better than it is after having been translated into English. So for any French viewers, please pick up Frédéric Bastiat's The Law, and I imagine it'll really change the way you view the world. He was such an amazing thinker ahead of his time, and I'm definitely a big fan of his. And he's one of the people that made me so excited about Bitcoin, because suddenly now there's this tool that enables any individual anywhere on the planet to be able to send and receive money with anyone else anywhere on the planet. There's nothing that governments can do to stop it. That's a wonderful thing for every single human being on the planet, because it's not from the benevolence of the butcher or baker we expect our daily bread, from his regard for his own self-interest. And that's a quote from Frédéric Bastiat. And Bitcoin or cryptocurrencies enable people to interact with people all over the world, so that out of people's own self-interest, they can help every other person all over the world. And this is, Frédéric Bastiat was writing about this hundreds of years ago, but now it's enabled on a wide scale across the world thanks to the invention of cryptocurrencies. And it's just such an exciting time to be alive, because now this is possible. And before the internet and before cryptocurrencies, it wasn't possible.
All right. Well, thank you for this answer. Now let's go straight to the hot topic, which is you're known for your involvement with Bitcoin Cash. And my question in 2020 is that I would like you to explain to the French audience, and to me actually, how Bitcoin Cash stands out as a peer-to-peer electronic cash solution. And I mean, like nowadays, there are plenty of trustless solutions that are scalable, cheap, and sometimes ensuring privacy that exist. How does BCH achieve this better than the others, or stands out in your opinion, please?
Yeah, Bitcoin Cash is standout, and it doesn't mean I don't like the other ones. I'm huge fans of Monero and Zcash and Zcoin, and I'm a fan of absolutely anything that works. But the thing that has me so excited about Bitcoin Cash specifically is it's accepted at more than 100,000 websites around the world. It's accepted at more physical locations than any other cryptocurrency anywhere in the world. And it has fast, cheap, reliable payments for the world. And it works right now today. It's not dependent on some future technology that doesn't exist yet. And I think that's a really big deal. And, maybe Bitcoin will solve its high fee problems and slow transaction problems, but maybe it won't, or maybe Monero will get, a whole bunch more traction and a lot more, usage around the world, and we'll be able to overcome the regulatory hurdles that a cryptocurrency that's so private has. But maybe it won't, right? But Bitcoin Cash has all these things right now. People don't realize Bitcoin Cash has another thing called CashFusion built on top of it, which gives Bitcoin Cash privacy in the same ballpark as a Monero if you use it properly there too. And then Bitcoin Cash has amazing tokens. You can make your own token in like 20 seconds over at mint.bitcoin.com. And then Tether is already on top of Bitcoin Cash as well. If you're sending around Tether on Ethereum, you're paying $5, maybe $10 per transaction. If you do it on Bitcoin Cash, you're paying about a 20th of a penny per transaction. So the transactions on Bitcoin Cash are basically free, and they're super fast, super cheap, and super reliable. And I see lots of people on the internet doing name calling against Bitcoin Cash, but calling it Bcash isn't an argument against its fast, cheap, reliable payments for the world. And what I see mostly is it's a bunch of people that have already bought Bitcoin, and they see Bitcoin Cash as a threat to Bitcoin's market share dominance. And they think, oh, if Bitcoin Cash gets more traction, I'm not going to become a millionaire because of my Bitcoin holdings. Well, if your only goal in your involvement in cryptocurrency is just to get rich and become a millionaire in terms of dollars, you've missed the entire point of cryptocurrency. The entire point is to enable people to engage and trade with other people all over the world without needing permission from others. And Bitcoin used to be, the front runner at being able to enable that for the world. As someone who was using it to send and receive payments with people all over the world, it stopped working for that in 2017. A lot of people don't realize it today, but the average transaction fee in 2017 got to be $50 per transaction, and the average confirmation time got to be 2 weeks. And during that 2-week period, your transaction could be reversed as well. And then lots of people you'll hear argue today say, oh, well, now the Bitcoin transaction fees aren't so high. They're cheap now. Well, if that is, that's fine and dandy. But the software engineers that managed to get a hold of the Bitcoin protocol development openly say that they don't want the fees to be cheap. They openly say they want the blocks to be full, which lead to slow, expensive, unreliable transactions. So if you're arguing that Bitcoin transactions today aren't slow, expensive, and unreliable, you're arguing that the Bitcoin core developers have failed in their goal to make the vision of Bitcoin that they want. So, and I'm not here to bash on Bitcoin. I'm just stating the truth about Bitcoin. If you want a payment network that's fast, cheap, and reliable and enables people to deal with each other peer-to-peer all over the world, it's not Bitcoin. There's lots of other cryptocurrencies that do it, but it's not Bitcoin today. And that's why, as I think about how bad things must have gotten for the owner of Bitcoin.com and the first person in the entire world to basically build up that entire ecosystem to have to stop promoting it. I mean, that's how horrible the user experience became with Bitcoin, to where more times than I can count, I had to pay more than $1,000 for a single transaction on the Bitcoin network. And then the other people who obviously aren't using Bitcoin or they know about it, then start calling me a liar or claiming I did something wrong. But the math is very, very clear. The average transaction fee was $50, but anybody that's running in sort of a business accepting multiple payments, you're paying thousands of dollars in transactions more times than they can count. And that's why Bitcoin, it used to just be, Bitcoin businesses. Now there's thousands of cryptocurrencies, and I wish them all luck. I'm excited. There's so many exciting ones out there. It's just a question which one is going to bring the most economic freedom to the most people around the world in the shortest amount of time. That's the one that I'm going to support. And I don't care if it's Bitcoin Cash or, Avalanche's new one or whatever it is. Like there's a million exciting things happening out there, and it's a good thing. And just like I hope something better than my current iPhone comes out, so we all get to use that. I hope something better than Bitcoin Cash or better than any other cryptocurrency out there comes out, because then the whole world gets to benefit from that as well.
So, yeah, quite a few questions out of your answer that popped up in my mind. Last time we spoke in Tokyo, I think, I was talking about Lightning Network, and you challenged me on the spot to actually show you a mobile wallet or something that is decently, that's easy to use to make a transaction on the Lightning Network, like something that has a good UI and UX, I mean. And 2 years after, I think the situation has evolved a little bit, with Blue Wallet deploying some, let's say, accessible solutions to transact on the Lightning Network. Has your take on Lightning Network changed? Because I remember that 2 years ago, you wouldn't believe in it. What's your vision regarding this solution, which, would eventually make Bitcoin scalable, let's say? Yeah.
If it does, fantastic, but clearly they crippled the adoption of Bitcoin worldwide in the hopes that a technology that at that time certainly didn't exist yet, and even today the user experience with Lightning is absolutely horrible. I go around giving physical Bitcoin non-custodial tips. I'm giving private keys to people in Bitcoin Cash all over the world, and you can do it through YouTube videos. I give it to servers at restaurants. I give it to people all over the place. You can't do that with Lightning. It's impossible to do that with Lightning in a non-custodial manner there. And if you're using a custodial service, you might as well just go back to using PayPal or Bank of America or whatever custodial service that you were using before cryptocurrency. And most of the Lightning wallets, without taking a bunch of extra work and doing a bunch of extra steps, are basically just fancy custodial services, not any different than PayPal. And if you're using a custodial Lightning service, well, why not just use PayPal? And so I think clearly Lightning so far to this date has been a massive failure. The fact that there's somewhere in the ballpark of I think it's almost 1,000 times more Ethereum wrapped, more Bitcoin wrapped in the Ethereum network than there is in the Lightning network also shows that Ethereum has been a far, far, far more successful layer 2 scaling solution for Bitcoin than the Lightning network has. Whereas at the time when the argument was being made to limit the block size on Bitcoin, the arguments were like, oh, everybody can just use Lightning. Well, that sure turned out to be wrong. Way more people started using Ethereum. Wrapped Bitcoin or just plain using Ethereum itself and forgetting about Bitcoin altogether. If you go to any of the Ethereum DevCon conferences, wow, an amazing amount of brain power and developer power there, far more than any recent Bitcoin conference that I've been aware of.
All right. Despite your vision of the current Bitcoin, do you still see like Bitcoin as a store of value, despite the fact that on the functional end, it's not like there yet?
No, I don't at this point. So if you study the economics, nothing can be a store of value without having a second additional use case. And I think the second additional use case in the forms of cryptocurrencies is being usable for payments. And that usefulness for payments has been severely damaged on Bitcoin. And at this point, I think it's just this big advertising campaign like, hey, if you buy a bunch of Bitcoin with your dollars today, and then we get a bunch more people to buy Bitcoin with their dollars tomorrow, you can sell the Bitcoins that you bought today for more dollars tomorrow. And like, if you want to do that, go ahead, but you've missed the entire point of how cryptocurrencies can benefit all of humankind. And it's by having censorship-resistant peer-to-peer payments for the world that work in any country for anybody, black or white, young or old, rich or poor. You have to be rich to use Bitcoin at this point with $5 transaction fees. No poor person is ever going to consider using that. Bitcoin Cash works for everybody all over the world, and so do 1,000 other cryptocurrencies out there. I think Bitcoin has just become this big speculative vehicle for rich people to speculate on other people speculating out on the future. That's not something that's exciting or interesting or philosophically fulfilling to me one bit. I want to empower individuals to have control over their own money, not to use custodial services run by other rich people that are going to, just make themselves even richer by tricking other people into buying an asset that doesn't actually do anything for them in their lives, and they'd never dream of buying a hamburger or a coffee with it. I paid for my dinner last night at a restaurant here in Bitcoin Cash, and then I took more away to go, and I ate it for breakfast this morning. Like, I'm using Bitcoin Cash for every transaction. The shirt I'm wearing, the shorts I'm wearing, and everything in my life is revolving around Bitcoin Cash payments now, just like I did for Bitcoin early on, but Bitcoin doesn't work for that anymore now, but Bitcoin Cash does.
All right. So for you, an instrument cannot be a store of value if it doesn't have another, if it doesn't have another function adding to that store of value, function. Like, I get it, but you say that BCH, like you do foresee BCH as something beyond the payment solution, and when you look at BCH, it doesn't support like all sorts of smart contracts. I mean, I've been checking that, like, you've been deploying simple ledger protocol, but doesn't that put like BCH in a position which makes it less competitive compared to what's out there smart contract wise?
Maybe, but the network effect is incredibly important too. I think the only reason Bitcoin is still number one is it has this huge network effect combined with its horrible user experience. Bitcoin Cash has a smaller network effect, but with a great user experience. And then there's these other coins out there that could have arguably an even better user experience with all the smart contracts and super fast, cheap transactions, but they have a much, much smaller network effect than even Bitcoin Cash. And so which one of those things are going to wind up in the end? I don't know. That's why I own a bit of all of these things. I have a diverse portfolio of all of them. And I think that's what the smart thing for anybody to do.
Right. All right. How about Ethereum? Like lately there's been like this frenzy, there's been this trend with decentralized finance taking off during the summer. Have you been like Have you been trying these new financial products that have been deployed on Ethereum? Have you been providing liquidity whatsoever? What's your vision regarding that?
Yeah, there's so much happening that it's more than any one human being could keep up with all the yearn and the sushi and all the just amazing stuff that's going on there. So have I been participating a little bit, mainly by doing lending of Ethereum to different lending desks and that sort of thing. But there's a whole new, and we're building an entire new monetary system for the world. And that new monetary system for the world, it isn't just Bitcoin. It isn't just Ethereum. It isn't just Bitcoin Cash. It's all of these things all interacting together, just like the current economy isn't only Microsoft or only Apple or only Ford or only Tesla. It's all of these, billions of different things all working together in, cooperation with everything else. That's the world's economy, and the same is true with these cryptocurrencies. It's not just one. It's not just the other. It's all of these things working together. So people can use, Uniswap for some stuff. You can use Bitcoin for another. You can use Bitcoin Cash for something else. Like, the more options people have out there in their lives, the better. And that's why it's great that we can choose between Ford and Tesla, and it's great that we can choose between, Bitcoin, Ethereum, Bitcoin Cash, and take your pick from 1,000 other ones out there. This is good for everybody, and it leads to competition leads to a better quality product for more people at a lower price, and we're seeing that happen in the cryptocurrency space as well.
All right. Now, let's talk a little bit more about yourself. I remember your decision, if I'm right, to divorce with your motherland by rejecting your, let's say, citizenship, your American citizenship. I'm right? Yeah?
Yeah, I kind of feel like they rejected me, or the politicians there rejected me first. So the feeling, I suppose, was mutual.
So now you're a St. Kitts citizen. You pay. I mean, like you're a St. Kitts citizen, right?
Yeah, I'm a citizen of St. Kitts. So the proper term is a Kittitian, and actually I have several other citizenships as well. So I guess they're kind of like cryptocurrencies. You should collect all the good ones and avoid the bad ones there. So.
All right. And why do you run business in Japan? Actually, why this choice?
I haven't been to Japan at all, hardly at all this year. The coronavirus lockdown kind of changed that. And I'd only been staying in Japan less than half of each year anyhow. But Japan's a wonderful place as well. But my main business stuff at this point have been in the Caribbean.
The Caribbean. All right.
For a while now.
So that's like, we could call it your favorite country to live as a cryptocurrency guy.
There's lots of great stuff about Japan. There's lots of great stuff about Antigua. There's lots of great stuff about St. Kitts, and there's lots of great stuff about lots of places in the world. And I guess shout out to another YouTube channel I really am a fan of. It's called The Nomad Capitalist. Yeah. And the slogan over there is "Go where you're treated best." And I think that's great advice for anybody. Is it's a big world out there. Go wherever you're treated the best. And I think that's good advice for everybody.
All right. Now let's switch topic. It's no secret that you have important cryptocurrency holdings. How do you handle security online and also in the street life? Like, it must be very stressful. I mean, like, have you been dealing with issues or people like trying to mess up with you? How do you live with that?
Yeah, so I don't want to say too much to give away too many security secrets there, but one change that's kind of happened in my thinking and view over this, and I think my original thinking is still right for most people most of the time. I wanted everybody to hold their own cryptocurrency themselves. And that way it couldn't be seized or controlled or have governments come in. The U.S. government literally came in and stole the gold from every single American last century. If everybody's using a custodial account where Coinbase or Binance or somebody's holding everybody's cryptocurrency for them, the government could very easily go into that company and say, give us everybody's Bitcoin. And so that's why I thought it was so important for everybody to hold it themselves, because if everybody's holding their private keys themselves, there's no place the government can go to take everybody's cryptocurrency. For big holders that have a lot that are maybe worried about, robberies or kidnappings or ransom or that sort of thing, maybe it's a very good idea to have a custodian hold a lot of your cryptocurrency. So that way, if you or somebody you knew or ever kidnapped or extorted or something like that, you can honestly say, hey, I don't have any cryptocurrency to give you, or I have very little cryptocurrency to give you. It's all with a custodian that's not going to give it to you anyhow. And so maybe that's something for high net worth individuals to think about, is using a custodian simply for a safety measure there. Because that way, if you're ever kidnapped, you can say, hey, I honestly don't have any cryptocurrency to give you. So I think, depending on how much crypto you have, you can balance it between holding it yourself and using a custodian of some sort.
Fair enough. Do you still hold Bitcoin?
Yeah, of course I still hold Bitcoin. Yeah. So in fact, I've been holding Bitcoin for a long time. I'm sure I have more Bitcoin than just about every Bitcoin maximalist out there. but I've been selling Bitcoin call options recently. And then I've been using it to buy more. Previously, I was using it to buy more Bitcoin Cash all the time. More recently, I've been using the money earned from that to buy more Ethereum, and that's been working out very well as well. Mainly because there's been some drama within the Bitcoin Cash ecosystem with one of the developers trying to significantly alter the stability and the roadmap for the Bitcoin Cash protocol. So guess what? Investors like stability. When you don't have stability in Bitcoin Cash, they switch to buying other things like Ethereum, which is what I've been doing recently. And the Ethereum ecosystem is just amazing with all the stuff that's happening there.
So I assume that you have still a big proportion of your wallets of your folio in Bitcoin Cash. How do you hedge yourself against market corrections? Do you have any strategies, any tip, any method?
I want to be exposed to as much the volatility as I possibly can, because I think the long-term trend is that the price is going to go up. And so if the price goes up a lot, I want to make sure I was exposed to that volatility. Whereas if I had hedged it all, the price went up, but I missed out on all of it because I had hedged all the volatility risk away. So I want to be exposed to as much of that volatility over as long a period of time as I possibly can, which was my exact same strategy with Bitcoin and Ethereum and all the other cryptocurrencies I've been involved in.
All right. And do you recognize yourself as a trader? Do you have a trading desk? Yeah, are you trading?
I've been doing some lending. The very, very, very few times I tried to trade anything myself and saw, oh, this news came out, and of course the price is going to go up or the price is going to go down, and I tried to trade on it. It got wrecked, right? The market always goes the opposite way of what I was expecting. So I forget what it was. Some big exchange got hacked or something, and I thought, oh, this has to be bad news. So like, I'll sell some now and I'll buy it back in a week when the price is lower. So I sold some, and of course the price went up. So, so I learned my lessons. I only did that, I think, maybe once, maybe twice. So now I just hold it or lend for interest.
All right. And regarding like investment out of the crypto space, do you do like ventures into like, I don't know, biotechs or anything? Do you have some fields that you really believe in? Do you diversify? Care to give us some more details about that?
Yeah, so I'm actually recording this from a country called Antigua here in the Caribbean, and I invested a huge amount of money in a stem cell treatment facility here that's due to open, and the coronavirus it would have been open a long time ago, not for the world being so crazy with the coronavirus stuff. But it can treat all sorts of different things here.
What factory? I mean,
a stem cell facility.
Oh, stem cell.
So,
yeah.
So what they do is and the medical scientists are more qualified to talk about it than I am, but basically they're taking stem cells out of the umbilical cord between a mother and her child. And those are special cells that basically get a free pass. You can inject them into anybody and they won't reject them because those cells don't belong to the mother. They don't belong to the baby. You can inject them in just about anybody. And, there's something special about them where the bodies don't reject them as being foreign cells. And they're, I'm really excited about the advances that are going to be able to be made there. And I'm looking to invest in more companies working on extreme life extension because there's nothing more boring than being dead, right? Or if all your friends and family are dead, that's pretty boring too. So I want everybody to have the option to live as long as they want to be able to live in, long, healthy, happy lifetimes, and including myself and my own friends and family. So I want to take more and more of the funds that I've earned in my involvement in cryptocurrency and start investing it in extreme life extension technologies. So,
yeah, interesting. So, yeah, I mean, like health is one of the most, it's the most important capital, let's say. I mean, pointless to be rich and be in a miserable state, of course. And one question that has been that I've been receiving a lot, would you care sharing with us your crypto ATH, or at least in Bitcoin?
Well, I think the highest Bitcoin hit was around $20,000 in 2017. So
no, your ATH, your stack basically in Bitcoin, the amount.
The number of Bitcoins that I ever held at one point.
So, that's the question I received a lot.
There's lots of rumors floating around on the internet with all sorts of different numbers, anywhere from I'm broke to I think the highest I've seen floating around is like 500,000 Bitcoins or something like that. And I won't confirm or deny any of those rumors.
All right. No, I respect
I'm doing
that.
just fine.
I respect that. No, that's perfectly all right. Okay. One other question I had, basically, news-wise, what's your take on what's going on, like the Libra project, for instance? What do you think about it?
Yeah, I haven't heard much news about it recently, but I was watching the interview that, his name's escaping me right now, but the guy that's basically the CEO or chairman of Libra, former PayPal former CEO
David Marcus.
David Marcus, that's the one. he did an amazing, fantastic job dealing with the U.S. Congress. I would not have been able to be as civil with those people as he was. He did such a fantastic job. And there was only basically like, one or maybe two of the actual politicians in there that had any understanding of what was going on. And one of the guys asked David Marcus clearly, like, so if a user has their own private keys for Libra, do they own their crypto? Full stop, yes or no? And finally, I think David Marcus had to say, yes, they own their own crypto. And to me, I think that was all I needed to know. Like, if you own your own private keys, you own your Libra, that's a fantastic thing. And this can be an onboarding mechanism for the entire world. And Facebook has a huge network effect, but if they don't design the cryptocurrency in a way in which it's super useful, maybe people will jump ship into, Monero or Ethereum or Bitcoin Cash, or take your pick. And so all of these cryptocurrencies are all competing against each other. And so if Facebook comes out with their own cryptocurrency, great. If the Federal Reserve Bank comes out with their own cryptocurrency, and if it's one where if you have the private keys, you own the cryptocurrency, full stop, fantastic as well. Like the more options people have in the world for this sort of thing, the better. And the more on-ramps and off-ramps people have, the better. And imagine if Facebook provided that on and off-ramp for everybody all over the world, that would be fantastic. So yeah, I'm a fan of anything that gives people more options in their lives around the world, and Libra seems to be one of those things. But will it be the best one out there? Time will tell, but I'm not very optimistic on that. I think there's other cryptocurrencies that probably do a better job at being money.
Yeah, we've seen like coercion and like authorities like the SEC or the CFTC cracking down on exchanges, and which could eventually crack down on even more platforms and even more users of cryptocurrencies. Do you foresee a world where things are going to remain like that? Don't you expect that there is a real risk coming from governmental institutions to bottleneck or destroy what has been achieved with cryptocurrency adoption? What's your take on that? We've seen like BitMEX being shut down like a few days ago.
Yeah, I was just going to mention with BitMEX, it's so crazy. Like if you don't like BitMEX, don't use it. And then what happens is they indict, one of the biggest crypto platforms in the entire world that's competing with the established legacy players, right? You have the CME and I guess BACT or whatever in the US, which are these big traditional finance, institutions, whereas the new up-and-comer BitMEX, run by people that were in crypto early on, they're the ones that get indicted. So it just looks like more, crony capitalism to me, where the existing legacy players are using the legacy system to squash out their competition. And I've never made a single trade on BitMEX, but other people, obviously liked it. It was a huge platform. And I was talking with one, all he does, he trades all day, every day. He's a professional trader for years and years and years now. And he was pretty annoyed because he said that BitMEX was way better than the other options. Now they took away one of his best options. Now he either has to go to use a Chinese exchange, like OKX or some of these other ones that I don't trust as far as I can throw them. With OK Exchange, the other ones maybe are better, but or you can use CME or BACT, and like he said, their product sucked compared to BitMEX. So like they basically took out the most trustworthy, best platform that was out there. And I guess it's just really frustrating. I think the market is the best protection for consumers. Now we're seeing the same thing with they're going after John McAfee, right? Like the government can print as much money as they want at any time for any reason, yet they want to throw like a 70-something-year-old man in prison until he dies because he didn't give him some of his money. And then they're also complaining that he was promoting different, ICOs or whatnot, and they're mad about that. Look at Social Security in the U.S. Every single American is forced to participate in that fractional reserve Ponzi scheme, yet none of the government agencies complain one bit about it. And if you try to opt out of it, they'll send you to jail. Like, what an incredible double standard. What a bunch of lying, hypocritical, tyrants to do that. They want to throw John McAfee in jail for voluntarily promoting, hey, you could buy this ICO if you want to with your own money that belongs to you. Whereas in the US, every single person has to donate to the Ponzi scheme, Social Security, that's not, it's totally fractional reserve the entire time. And if you don't, you get sent to jail. Like, it's just stunning to me that people think that like it's okay to go after John McAfee rather than the people that are running the Social Security Ponzi scheme. But that's the crazy wild world we live in, and I guess the only option you have is to start using cryptocurrency and opt out of it. And for people that want to opt out of the U.S. system, I'll promote. You can go to AntiguaHelp.com and you can pay in Bitcoin Cash for your entire citizenship here in Antigua. You can set up an Antigua corporation. You can do all sorts of things there. That's AntiguaHelp.com. You can pay for everything in Bitcoin Cash, and it's run by the former Attorney General of the entire country is now accepting Bitcoin Cash for all of his services here. And if you want to reach out to him through the website, you can tell me Roger Ver sent you. I'm helping him with all sorts of stuff there. So really nice to see that sort of thing happening here. The U.S. better watch out. There's now competition in governance systems around the world, and all these different governments around the world have to compete so that people wind up going where they're treated best. And so anyhow, check out AntiguaHelp.com for more information on that.
All right. Well, just one last thing I wanted to know your feeling regarding the next American elections, and also how given what you've been saying like earlier previously, I assume that you believe that COVID-19 is also like a setup to let's say, reduce.
I don't know if it's a setup. A setup might be a little bit stronger, but it's absolutely the excuse or the justification that every government around the world is using to control every aspect of everybody's lives. But that's part of life. If there wasn't death, it wouldn't be called life. It would just be existence. And people die. We want to prevent people from dying, but think about how many millions of lives can be saved every single year if you ban people from driving more than 5 miles an hour, right? But no, like there's a trade-off to be had there. It's nice to be able to drive 65 miles an hour. And even though more people will die, the amount of additional economic activity and time saving and things that people are able to do by being able to drive 65 miles an hour or 100 kilometers an hour in Europe or wherever is a lot better than only being able to drive 5 miles an hour or 10 kilometers an hour. And the trade-off is worth it. And there's a lot more to life than just avoiding death, right? You want to be able to spend time with your friends and family and not, self-isolating and hiding at home in fear of everything. So people need to be able to get on with their lives and enjoy their lives. And for those that are truly afraid of the coronavirus, I respect that. You can stay home and self-isolate, but don't force the rest of us to basically give up our lives and give up our ability to see our friends and family and enjoy life because you're afraid. If you're afraid, you can stay home and self-isolate. Don't force the rest of us to do the same thing.
All right, thank you. Well, I think we've covered like everything that we could in that time frame. Do you have anything that you'd like to share with the French community, like any message?
Yeah, don't be a closed-minded fool, right? Go out there and experiment with these different cryptocurrencies. Don't believe everything you see on social media too. I mean, it's just stunning how much manipulation goes on in social media or even just the regular media. It's just stunning. So I really I implore everybody to think for themselves. And because I think in large part this will be going out to a French audience, I wish I could read it in French myself, but go out and pick up anything by Frédéric Bastiat that was written in French originally, and you'll see the world more clearly, and you'll be a better person for having read anything by Frédéric Bastiat. Reach out to me, send me an email at roger@bitcoin.com, and let me know what you thought of the book, reading it in its native language of French. I'd be really curious to hear, because it was fantastic in English. It must be even more amazing in the native language.
Yeah, so Sophisme économique, for instance, is one. Yeah. I mean, like, it's one like key element of Bastia. Well, definitely. Well, thank you very much, Roger Vier, for your time. It's been a pleasure having you on this show, and I hope that we would eventually have a follow-up to this interview in maybe a few years or a few months if something like interesting happens in Bitcoin Cash or another currency, and I would love to have your comment on that. Yeah, thank you very much. Have a wonderful day.
And subscribe to this channel, share it with a friend as well. See everybody next time.
Cheers, thank you very much.